New figures from the Clare and Tipperary Garda division show a worrying 22.7% rise in the number of unaccompanied learner drivers caught on our roads, up from 322 cases in 2024 to 395 last year. The increase has sparked fresh concerns about road safety, enforcement and awareness among both young drivers and their families. Joining us now to discuss this is the Ireland South MEP, Cynthia Ní Mhurchú. Cynthia, good morning to you.
Morrissey, Martin, Alan. Thanks for having me on.
Cynthia, that rise of 73 cases in just 1 year, can you put those numbers into perspective for our listeners? How significant and worrying do you feel that is?
Oh no, it's big. The 22.7% increase is big. In fact, it's one of the biggest, in fact, if not the biggest. Cork County rose by 22.1%. But by comparison, we had a huge drop seen in Cork City. They went down by 19.1%. So you're not doing too well in Clare and Tip. But if you look at the Kerry Limerick, I suppose I should have given you that contrast. In contrast, the Garda figures show reductions in the number of learner drivers caught driving unaccompanied in nearby Kerry and Limerick. Because in Kerry we have a reduction of 11.7% and in Limerick, separate jurisdiction, 13.3% reduction. So you're not doing too good in Clare, and appreciate that a lot of learner drivers need to be using their car in Clare. I was down there and had a wonderful constituency visit some weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, and the bus service is great, but it's limited, and keeping Clare connected is not so easy if you don't have a car, and for youngsters that means a learner driver waiting to get the test. Okay,
so the comparison to some of our fellow Munster counties then, particularly Kerry and Limerick, Cynthia, you know, can we go beyond the figures here? I don't know how micro level we can get in it, but what are they doing differently in Kerry and Limerick, or what lessons can be learned from them?
Yeah,
purely policing.
Differently. It has to be purely policing, but obviously after policing it, there has to be a work through the district court or the relevant court of jurisdiction. So clearly the system is working better and people know that they'll be caught if they chance it. So really, unfortunately, my figures can't drill down as to the reasons. So I'm going to you on the basis of previous freedom of information requests that I've made and previous responses that I've gotten. And it seems to me that certain counties do better in relation to detection and prosecution of these types of offences, depending on police management and obviously court management and put through. So I think the message has gone out. In Limerick and Kerry, your neighbouring counties, as I said, don't take a chance. So I really want to take this opportunity to remind your listeners in Clare, in my constituency, remind parents that learner drivers, they have to be accompanied at all times. It is very difficult to get a parent to be freed up, or somebody with a full licence. It could be an older member in the family, or it could be, you know, a brother or sister of mammy, daddy, an uncle, aunt, that kind of thing. But they have to be accompanied at all times by someone who has a full, valid driving licence in the same category for a minimum of 2 years. Now, there's a good reason for this, Alan. You and I know this. And this is not to tarnish every learner driver, because some of them are excellent, but in general, by virtue of the fact that they're only learning to drive and they haven't been driving for too long, most of them, they do lack the experience and the judgment that's required to handle complex driving situations, particularly on our country roads. You know them better than I do in County Clare, but they're narrow, they're bendy, and they're bumpy, and the camber of the road mightn't be great. So look, this means there's more accidents on our roads, and the worst thing for any inexperienced, particularly young driver, I know that there are older members of the community learning to drive as well, but if you take a young driver, like during my time as a barrister, Alan, in the courts, like I had to deal with young people who had caused a collision and they were unaccompanied. And apart from obviously the consequences of the law and the fines and the court system and so forth, where there are fatalities or people who are badly injured, it leaves a long-lasting and a life-lasting mark on the young person. And so I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
No, of course not. And you know that could be one of the potential disastrous outcomes from unaccompanied drivers on our roads. But you hit upon it there in terms of parents or guardians, Cynthia. There are some people who may be learner drivers who need to drive to get to college or work, depending on what part of the county they're living in. Public transport just is not an option, but yet their parents also have a job or something else to go to. So it's a very, you know, I think in this country we're great at highlighting problems, but without offering a solution.
Yes, no, and indeed, the state can't offer a solution to that conundrum in the sense that the family are going to have to come together, and whether it's a retired person, it's a bit like who's going to mind the children while the two parents go out to work. And of course, we know up and down the country, we have grannies and granddads stepping in, and we have granaunts and granduncles and so forth. So it's kind of the same thing. Look, there's no easy fix to this. If somebody is driving from Clare and they're going to the University of Limerick or they're going to MTU, they can't be bringing their granny and their granddad all day with them while their lectures are on, but they might have to come to some kind of an arrangement whereby somebody comes and then gets public transport back if the public transport is available to a certain point, and then that person is picked up. It's really awkward, I get that, but sorry, the more serious side, Alan, is that we don't want the amount of fatalities on the road to rise. And I do want to mention to parents, just for them to be very, very clear, for them to know that if it is their car that the young learner driver is driving, or indeed if they are driving their own cars that the parents maybe have bought or the young person has saved for and paid for, whatever, but if they are unaccompanied, the car is at risk of being impounded. Yeah. If they're detected and if they're found to be unaccompanied. And it can lead to fines of up to €1,000 and 4 penalty points. Now, I find that the penalty points, and of course the fine, but in particular the penalty points, I mean, young people are particularly freaked out and worried about that, and rightly so, because of course we know that that impacts very negatively on insurance, and we know that the insurance in the first place for young people is very high.
Just finally and briefly, Cynthia, driving test wait times, which we've discussed on this show before, that is surely a big factor in this problem.
Absolutely. Look, there have to be resources and money thrown at this problem, because the fact of the matter is that where the state are responsible to do something about this problem is to improve public transport so that young people, learner drivers, can get to college. But that infrastructure is not there yet. We've done a lot, but a lot more to do, as they say in the advertisement. So, yes, I do think the state, and I have been calling on the Department of Transport and Minister Sean Kenny and so forth, to be putting money into speeding up the test times, because quite frankly, it depends on where you live. And of course, people now have to shop around from county to county in order to get the test at an earlier stage.
Okay, we do have to leave it there, but Cynthia Ní Mhurchú, the Ireland South MEP, thank you for joining us to chat about this. I go Mágad agus slán go fáil.